Hello there, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome back to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today we are here kicking off the newest series of Studs and Duds, and joining me to start the series is Alex, the Fantasy Football Hustler. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's going good. You want to take a second, tell everyone where they can find you and your work?
Yeah, so on social media, it's just at FF Hustler 420, and that's on YouTube as well. A lot of fantasy football stuff. We have guys, we've done interviews with Ricky Williams. We do that on a normal basis. And yeah, a lot of IDP stuff as well. And we got a live auction mock draft going down today. So we try to keep the drafts going often.
Shit, the auctions always sound fun. That's one I always wanted to get into. We've tried them a few times before, and just shit's gone haywire. We've tried to do the slow auction draft. I find the auction draft something that works best when you're live with your buddies. I've tried to do them online. I've tried to do them in slow drafts. They just have not worked. So hopefully I'll get a good one. 420 Hustler. That's fitting that you had Ricky Williams on there. I'm sure that was intentional.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's all about the sports and the 420. So yeah, it was a good match.
All righty. Well, without further ado, let's get into the first guy here. I will introduce Aaron Jones. Finished last year as RB9 in full PPR scoring. 1,121 rushing yards, 395 receiving, 7 total touchdowns. He had 250.1 fantasy points, which was good for 14.56 per game, and it has a current ADP of 45, according to Fantasy Pros, going off the board as RB16. Is he one of your studs or one of your duds?
He's one of my studs. I think he's going to crack the top 12. And really just with everything going on with the QB situation, we got Jordan Love coming in over there now, and they're probably going to be running it a little bit more in the red zone than they did in the past with Aaron Rodgers. They're a run-first team. He's got a nose for the end zone, and last year, very close to right around 1,500 yards. I think he can eclipse that again, and I think we get a higher finish, especially on rushing TDs. I mean, it was pretty bad last year. Only 2 rushing TDs for him, 7 TDs total, and I really think he breaks the double digits again.
Yeah, see, I agree. I definitely think there's the potential there. I haven't seen that much of Jordan Love. I mean, nobody has. I haven't gone back far enough to the last time he played, probably his final year in college, to see if he checks down at, an above average rate or not. But I definitely think the potential is there. He seems to be someone who's going undervalued in all my drafts. So I've taken quite a few shots at him. Like, what did I say? Finished RB9 last year, currently going off the board, according to Fantasy Pros, as RB16. I feel like in my drafts, he's gone a lot later than 16.
Yeah.
Obviously, age is a concern. Health is a concern. This offense is a concern. A.J. Dillon, I'm not a fan of A.J. Dillon, so I love that A.J. Dillon seems to be suppressing his ADP a bit. I like this one. I think I'm going to have a lot of shares of him. Just kind of scares me, if I were to take him in a dynasty league. I don't know how much he has left in the tank.
Right.
All righty. I guess we can move on to the next one. I just got to queue it up. Dealer's choice of your next 3 guys. Who do you want?
Let's go with the other stud. Let's go with Chris Godwin.
I had it written down for a second. I'm going the other stud. Wait, which was? Okay, Godwin. All right, we have Chris Godwin. Finished last year as wide receiver 19. Had 5 rushing yards to go with 1,023 receiving yards, 3 total touchdowns, 196.8 fantasy points, which was 14.85 per game. His current ADP is 57 and wide receiver 28 overall. Of course, he missed, I believe it was 6 games last season. Hamstring?
3. He started 13 games
last was it only 3? I feel like it was 6. I drafted him in Scott Fishbowl, and I feel like he sat on my bench for the first 2 months.
Yeah, he wasn't playing a lot in the beginning. I mean, that's when he missed, right? Missed for a couple games in the beginning and then kind of slowly coming on. And I think that's, I mean, the biggest reason why I'm so high on him. He's always kind of been QB proof, a little bit more QB proof than Mike Evans, if that's even possible, since he was like gone for 1,000 in every year. But he's going to go over. He's going to go over 150 targets. I mean, they're going to have to get the ball out quick. He's probably going to go over 100 receptions again. I mean, last year with missing a couple games and, same year as coming off the ACL, still going over 1,000 yards. Now he's 1 year removed from the ACL. Yeah, we're definitely taking a downgrade in QB from, Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, whichever one it ends up being. But I just feel like him playing in the slot, he's got the short A dot, but usually leads to a lot of receptions and never really being phased out of any
Yep.
game.
But your original point was right. He does seem to be the more QB proof out of the two. And that's a big thing because whether it's Baker or Trask, they're going to be shit. I think this year, Godwin holds his value, maybe takes a slight dip. I think it's Evans who falls right off the map here. Godwin's also younger. I know that they seem like they've both been in the league forever, but I think Evans is 30, 29. Evans is older and Godwin is younger. Actually, let's move back 1 second here. I want to do this with Godwin, but we skipped over Jones. We'll go back to Jones just for a second if I can find him. I'm bringing back up the ADP. Okay, Aaron Jones is going as 45 right now off the board. Let's take a look at some of the running backs in his range just to see who you prefer. Okay, we've got Jones. We'll go 2 above him and 2 below. Ken Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs. Then we have Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins. Are there any of them that you prefer over Aaron Jones?
I'd probably still take Walker over Jones. It's crazy that he's dropped that far.
Yeah, I'm not a big Charbonnet believer, so I think I would take Walker as well. Dobbins is close for me. I'd probably take Dobbins. No on the Mixon and Gibbs. I don't know. So that feels like he's appropriately valued there. All right, let's switch over to wide receiver. We've got wide receiver 28 for Godwin. The 2 above him are Mike Williams and Drake London. 2 below him are Michael Pittman, who you will get to in a minute, and Tyler Lockett. Do you like any of them more than Godwin?
I'm still taking Drake London over Godwin. I mean, that's crazy that London is so low on there for redraft.
Yeah, he is 50. What did I say? Yes, 50, 56 overall, wide receiver 27. Yeah.
Crazy.
I like him over Pittman. I like him over Lockett. Even you get below him, it's Deontay, Ayuk. Above him, there's a few I'd take him over too, for referring to Godwin. I take him over Judy, Christian Watson, probably Kirk, Mike Williams. There's a whole bunch I think I'd take Godwin over. Even Terry McLaurin. I'm not a big Terry McLaurin fan, so.
Okay.
Alrighty. What do you think his role will be in the offense? Do you think he's going to lead the team in targets, receptions? Or where do you see him going?
I think it's going to be both. Might even lead in yards this year. I think Mike Evans, just always going to be the bigger red zone threat. So I think that's the only area where Mike Evans, where he wouldn't get, would be the touchdowns. But yeah, I think he's going to be the target leader, reception leader, and the yards leader in that offense in 2023.
I agree. It looks like Evans always seems to be the deep threat and the end zone target, but I think Godwin has a much safer floor this year. All righty, moving on. Who do you want out of your remaining 2?
Let's go with Davante Adams first.
Davante Adams it is. Here we go. There we go. He was wide receiver 3 last year. 1,516 receiving yards for 14 touchdowns, 324 fantasy points for 19.74 per game. Current ADP is 14 overall. I don't know why that says 58. I think I might have accidentally typed in the Superflex there, but he is going 14 overall as wide receiver 8, which is very interesting. He is obviously your dud. Why are you higher or lower on him than consensus?
Well, he's one of those guys you've always had to kind of get at his ceiling, and I really feel like it's going to implode this year. I mean, it's going to be Jimmy G unless there's some issue with Jimmy G that he doesn't, because there is an issue with him, but it's if he still got a while to overcome it. But Jimmy just doesn't scream the guy who's going to be throwing it as much as a Derek Carr did, or I mean, even as much as Aaron Rodgers did, even though he was never the highest on like attempts. And I mean, Devontae's already frustrated this year. He's already been super vocal about like not liking the way that the offense is going, and everything is just screaming to me right now that yeah, Devontae is one of those guys for redraft. Well, for dynasty, I'm avoiding too, but I assume we're talking about redraft.
Yeah, this is a scary situation. Who would have thought you'd long for the days of Derek Carr? But that's one thing. You're right. He seems to be pissed off with the situation or pouting. And there's one thing I do not want. It is a disgruntled wide receiver. With running backs, it doesn't really seem to matter, the ones who are pissed off about the franchise tags. But I do not like this situation here. And you're right. Wide receiver 8 overall, which seems to be a bargain. But the problem is, you're right. Every year you seem to have to draft him at his ceiling, and every year that ceiling seems to get a little lower and a little lower. Redraft, I'm probably still going to draft him, but let's take a look at the others in his range here. So obviously we've got the 5 above him: Jefferson, Chase, Cup, Hill, Diggs. We'll even go 7: Lamb, AJ Brown. There's nobody you're taking him
No,
over, right?
no,
Okay, so then he at best he's 8th for both of us. I think we would agree on that.
for sure.
Let's take a look at what's below him. We've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith. Are you taking him over any of those guys?
No, I want all those guys over him right now.
I think I do too. Even okay, so now we're down to 13, which is where I start to maybe consider him. T. Higgins, Chris Olave, DK. This seems like the range right here where
I think I'd take him over Olave and DK, but I'd still want Higgins over him.
I think the same. I think I'd take him. I'd take T for sure. I'd take him over DK. Olave is the one where I'm kind of up in the air. So for me, he's going off the board as wide receiver 8. For me or you, it looks like he's more like wide receiver 13, 14-ish. So he's being drafted well. At this point, it's just name brand recognition. Like
For
he's
sure.
Devontae Adams, you know. I get it. He was the wide receiver 1, and I don't think the ceiling's there anymore. And I was originally saying I think I'm going to have some shares of him, but I think both of us have talked me out of it. I think he's going to be one of my busts as well. I am just going to be out. Yeah, wide receiver 8 seems too pricey.
Yeah.
All right, that leaves us with your final guy. We're moving along pretty quick. Michael Pittman of the Indianapolis Colts. Last year had 30 rushing yards, only 925 receiving yards. The fact that he didn't break 1,000 surprised me.
Yeah.
4 touchdowns, that's also low. Probably reflects on how bad that quarterback situation was. 190.5 fantasy points, 13.53 per game. Current ADP is 60. It's moved down 2 slots. Wide receiver 29. So he's one of your duds. Why are you low on him?
Yeah, and even wide receiver 29. I mean, it's crazy that like seems high for him, but it's either going to be Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson, more than likely Anthony Richardson. I mean, everything about this team just screams like run first. I mean, you have JT, pretty much the line's built for more rushing than passing. I don't see Anthony Richardson coming in and throwing it like 500 times or like anywhere close to that, especially when we see what guys like Fields and Hurts kind of did in their first years. I mean, a lot predicated on the rush more than the pass. And Pittman has just been nothing but a disappointment. Like he was okay in 21, but he still fell short of everyone's crazy expectations. And last year, I mean, fell way short of everybody's expectations.
I agree. It was wide receiver 20. I sold in a lot of leagues before the season started last year, and I feel like I got at least a first rounder for him in the majority of the leagues. Looking back now, that's a steal. Like I look and it says he's going as wide receiver 29, and I think to myself, holy shit, that's way too low. And then I bring up the board, and it's not. So we've got, like I said, just above him, we've got Mike Williams, Drake London, Chris Godwin. Then we've got Lockett, Deontay, Ayuk, Evans, Hollywood Brown, Pickens, Burks, JSN. Like, none of these guys are great. I don't know if I'd take any of them over him, but he definitely feels like he's maybe he belongs in this tier. He may be the best of this tier, but he definitely feels like he's appropriately valued. Is there anyone you think around this range where you'd rather have them over him?
I mean, Mike Evans, I still feel like he's got, I mean, at least the 1,000 yard floor compared to like Pittman, who, I mean, he's only cracked 1,000 one time. And who are some, I mean, I guess I'd probably take him over JSN. I know everyone's super high on
I like
JSN. And well, in redraft, yeah, not, I mean, no way in Dynasty, but in redraft, I just feel like the hype is, he's going a little bit higher than he should.
I
And
like Lockett, Deontay, Ayuk. I'm pretty sure Lockett and Deontay for sure. I think I like over him.
yeah, and Mike Williams, I mean, mentioned him too. I'm definitely taking him. And it seems like, I mean, the ADPs, I guess, are a little bit different than some of the drafts that I've been having, and we've been
Yeah,
drafting best ball. And seems like Pittman's going like way higher than all those guys.
yeah, he definitely does. That's what I mean. Like I'm not sure how accurate their ADP is right now. One sec here. I'm gonna do me some typing here. I find actually, you know what? I've got the damn thing on my sheet. One sec. Of course, I can't find it. Never mind. I was going to look up the underdog best ball ADPs, but by the time I find it, it'll take us 5 minutes of sitting here. I definitely think you're right because he's going as wide receiver 29, but I feel like in my drafts, he goes a lot higher than that. I feel like he's going in the range of more like I feel like he's going at the end of the range we were talking about with Adams, when it gets into Metcalf, just after Metcalf, I feel like he's in that group with Debo, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Hopkins, Ridley, even like McLaurin and Moore, DJ Moore. I seen both of them go after Pittman yesterday, and I prefer both of them to Pittman pretty handily.
So here's a best ball draft that we just started, and well, I mean, it's a slow draft, but we're in the 9th round, and the guys drafted, the wide receivers drafted in the 5th round. Christian Watson at the 5-3, Ridley at the 5-8, Debo at the 5-11, Judy at the 6-1, McLaurin at the 6-4, Amari Cooper at the 6-7, Pittman at the 6-8, Keenan Allen 6-9, George Pickens 6-10, Chris Godwin 6-12.
So that's kind of like I was saying, though. He's in that range with according to the ADP, he's more at the end of the 20s.
Yeah.
But where he's going off the board is in the early 20s, late teens,
For
as
sure.
far as wide receivers. And I'm out at that. I don't,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm out at that based on what he did last year with who was there last year? Matt Ryan, Carson
Yeah.
Wentz. I don't remember
Carson
what
Wentz, yeah.
washed up old shitty quarterback was there last year, but
Yeah, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz the year before.
yeah, one of them. Then you've got Anthony Richardson coming in. Who knows? Like, he doesn't seem like someone who's going to connect with Pittman all that well. I feel like he's gonna take off and run a whole lot. And
Yeah,
this offense might suck, and their offense is probably going to consist of a heavy dosage of Jonathan Taylor, I think.
same. I feel it's going to be a lot of heavy run game, and they're going to try to control the clock as much as they can. And their defense isn't really that good, so yeah, they're probably going to have to try to control the clock with the ground game.
You a big fan of Alec Pierce or Josh Downs? Think either of them threaten some? Even Jelani Woods, I guess, for targets.
I'd say Alec Pierce. I mean, he's more predominantly the slot guy, so maybe with like Anthony Richardson, if he's having to make the really quick decision and go to the short guy, I mean, it might be Alec Pierce a little bit more. But this is probably one of those teams like I kind of really don't want anybody from it.
Yeah. Well, like I take Taylor, but I was having this conversation with someone the other day. I never get Taylor because where Taylor goes in drafts, I'm normally just drafting a wide receiver. So you're right. I think I'm going to avoid it. All right. Well, you want to take another shot here to tell everyone where they can find your work before we head out?
Yeah, so if you go to fantasyfootballhustler.com, that'll get you to everywhere that I am. It's at FFHustler420 on social media. And then go follow me on Apple Podcast and Spotify, everywhere that you get podcasts. It's Fantasy Football Hustler.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for joining me. Once again, his studs were Aaron Jones and Chris Godwin, and his duds were Devontae Adams and Michael Pittman. I almost said boom or bust because originally I had decided on boom or bust for the title of the show, but you get the point.
Oh, and last thing is if you guys like coming into just live sessions or Q&As, anything like that, we're going live 3 times a day, pretty much every single day. Like last month, we did over 90 live streams, so we're
Jeez.
live all the time on YouTube, taking questions, doing drafts, and just having fun.
Wow, you are a busy man.
Heck yeah.
Well, this has been Studs and Duds with the Fantasy Football Hustler. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thanks again for joining me. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good night.